Welcome to the Trav's Outfitter podcast, the second edition. I'm your host, Shane Carlson, the marketing coordinator here at Trav's Outfitter, joined by Travis Youthy, the owner of Trav's Outfitter here in the center. And today we have our first special guest here on the end, Dr. Torness from Watertown's Prairie Lake Brown Clinic. And we're super excited. You're a podiatry specialist there, and we're talking about foot health here at Trav's Outfitter. So we're super excited. Congratulations on being the first ever guest of the Trav's Outfitter podcast.
Yeah, I'm honored. I didn't realize I was going to be the first, but this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't have a trophy or anything to give you to post on your wall, but we're very excited to have you here. And like I said, we're talking about foot health today. It's not the most glamorous, sexy topic out there, but everybody uses their feet, and they're pretty integral to everything that we do in our everyday lives. And so nobody likes dealing with foot injuries, but at some point or another, pretty much all of us experience some sort of foot pain or foot injury of some kind. So we've got Dr. Torness here to kind of shed some light on some of those issues and some of the best ways to prevent those from happening. And like I said, we're glad you're here. So Dr. Torness, I'll start with you. How did you, before we dig into the foot health, how did you come to the podiatry field?
Well, I kind of got talked into it, actually, by a really good friend. And I was doing nuclear medicine and met a radiologist from Morris, Minnesota. And his name is Andrea Giambi. Nice man. He kind of got me on track for looking into this and pushing me into the field. So I really do have to be honest. It was a total talk into. He said, you got to look into it, go for it. And he was a great supporter of me.
And now there's no going back.
No, and I don't regret it a bit. It's been a fantastic career for me. And the best part is I get to be home. I'm from Big Stone, Millbank area, so I've always wanted to be back here, and the opportunity to be home is great.
That's awesome. So as we talk about foot health here, you've been in the podiatry field a while. So what are some of the most common things that people come in to see you about?
I would say that the biggest thing that people come in with is plantar fasciitis. Heel pain, heel spurs, and then anything that runs the gamut of bunions and hammer toes and ingrown toenails. I would say heel pain is probably our biggest complaint when people present to the clinic.
And you've never heard of any of those complaints here at Trav's Outfitter, have you, Travis?
No, we never hear that. But no, it's interesting. You said it's not a sexy topic, but the fact of the matter is if we're not mobile, it really has a big effect on our life, right? If we can't get around and if we can't do the things we want to do,
right,
it becomes very, very important. And so, and that's one reason why I'm as passionate as I am about the footwear industry, is because at the end of the day, we're still helping people live a better life. That's part of what we believe at Trav's Outfitter, is we want to give people the best retail shopping experience possible, and we want to enrich lives. And I think that you can enrich lives by helping people stay mobile.
I agree. And, you talk about not being a sexy topic, but that's one of the things I bring up to my patients when they're in looking at different shoes or looking for options for shoes. You start talking about shoe types and what they're wearing, and it really is, one of the people, they'll come in, I want stylish shoes, I want cute shoes. And others, you just cruise for comfort. Go in there and get whatever makes you comfortable. So helping people pick out the right shoe and what they're doing in their lives is really important.
I would also say getting the right fit. We see a ton of that. I'm sure you see it too. But, as a follower of Jesus, I make this joke all the time that God, when he created man, there's this super highway that goes from our heel to our brain, that when we put on a pair of shoes and we lace it up and we take 3 steps and the heel moves even the slightest amount, we automatically say, too big, too big, too big, and we go to a smaller size, only to find out after we've worn the shoe for 3 weeks that the shoe's too darn short, right? And so there's a lot of education from a shoe fitting standpoint that we do every day.
Well, and you bring up the shoe fit. There's no two brands out there that base their shoe size on the same shoe last.
Correct.
And I go back to sending somebody out here at one point and telling them, go have them measure your foot. And then I think it was maybe you that called even and said, do you realize that device, the Brannick device, hasn't been changed in how many years?
Yeah, hundreds. Yeah.
And so, I do try to tell people you do need to go have your foot sized.
For sure.
But, they say, well, I've worn a size 10 for my whole life. Well, size 10 in one shoe doesn't mean it's a size 10 in every shoe.
Correct. The other thing that I say, and I'm bigger around than I need to be, but I tell people all the time, when you get bigger around in the tummy, guess what? Your feet get longer. It's not that they're growing like your tummy's growing, but the more weight your feet haul around, it makes a difference. So, that does, it changes.
Well, and I think over time, like the rest of us, the rest of our bodies, the elasticity isn't the same.
Correct.
So as we get older, our elasticity isn't there, and our feet do stretch out. They, they widen out, they lengthen out because that rebound isn't there.
Correct.
It's interesting to hear you talk about some of these issues that shoes or footwear actually cause, and they're not, it's not only just natural causes that are causing people pain. Sometimes it's actually what they're wearing or lack of what they're wearing.
Well, and I would say that, shoes generally probably don't cause the problem. It's the result of picking out a poor shoe or picking out the wrong size. So somebody comes in with ingrown toenails and their shoe box is too tight. Certainly that's one of the problems. You could say, well, look at your toe box, look how tight that is, look at the deformities you have. You have a bunion, you have a tailor's bunion, you have a wide foot.
Yep.
So, certainly shoes can cause problems for people that have other issues, but for the most part, the problems that are really results from what they put on.
And in doing a little bit of prep for this show, I read, Dr. Torness, you actually have experienced some bout of plantar fasciitis in the past. So for the people, he's not just recommending things that he's never had to deal with. He's actually had to deal with some of these issues himself. So Dr. Torness, I'm interested to hear your perspective, what that was like firsthand. So
I have been a big pusher of certain shoes, and I didn't think outside the box. I was, you need this shoe, go get this shoe. And so I heard about a new shoe and I wanted to try it. And I tried it alone. I tried it with a Power Step generic insert, and I've tried it with my own personal orthotic. And that shoe just didn't match to my foot. And then it really dawned on me at that time. I've been telling people, go buy this brand, go buy this brand. I stopped doing that. Now I'm starting to tell them you have a flat foot. Tell them you have a high arched foot. We need to kind of pinpoint down to what shoe matches their foot type, because not every brand out there will work for every single person. And I had a hard time really grasping that somebody would come in and say, I bought that Brooks shoe and my foot really hurts, or I bought that shoe. Like, well, I don't know that it's not necessarily the shoe. Maybe you need to do more. And now I'm coming down to the conclusion that the shoe just didn't match their foot very well, and there is a brand out there that will help them. They just need to find that brand.
And sometimes that takes a lot of work. Travis, I'm sure you've dealt with customers who they tried a shoe and had to come back and find something different, or maybe yourself have had to deal with that. Yeah,
we see that a lot. I don't have any of the medical expertise, but I've been in the footwear business for 39 years. I spent time in factories, and I've cut shoes apart with bandsaws, and I have an idea of what constructions are, and everybody's got a new mousetrap. Every season somebody's got a new best thing, right? I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful, and I feel blessed that after all these years, we've kind of bought the snake oil deal years and years ago, and we don't buy into that stuff anymore. So we know what shoes are, what shoes can or can't do. The one thing that's interesting, as I was listening to Dr. Torness, so I was a Danner footwear guy. It just fit my feet the best. Danner's good shoes. We sell hundreds of brands, so I'm not here touting for Danner. But from a business to business standpoint, Danner wasn't treating us very fair about 6-8 years ago. And I was like, I'm one of these guys. I'm like loyal to people that are loyal to me. And I'm like, I'm not wearing any more of these Danner shoes until they start to treat us fair. I mean, I know you guys are like, this guy's a weirdo, and I am weird, but I just didn't. And we sell hundreds of brands of shoes. And I have to tell you, I tried a dozen different styles of shoes, a dozen different brands, all great brands. Today, I only buy Danner shoes because at the end of the day, just like what Dr. Torness was saying, for whatever reason, the last or the form that they build the shoe over fits my feet. And so I'm a big proponent of that if Brooks doesn't work for you, then we'll show you Topo. And if Topo doesn't work, then let's show you Hoka. And if that doesn't work, we'll show you something else. So that's the beauty. I'm stumping for Travs a little bit, but that's the beauty of what we do here. Right. We have hundreds, thousands of pairs of shoes and hundreds of styles, and we can work at it until we find something that hopefully will work for you.
Well, and that's certainly what I appreciate about what you've done to help me, because when you're trying to help somebody find a shoe, having the ability to try on several different brands or several different styles, there's all kinds of places people can get shoes. I mean, you can buy them online. They can have them shipped to their house. The problem is they didn't try it on. They don't know that that's necessarily going to be the greatest fit for them. Mm-hmm. And so now you're at the hassle of, well, I got this shoe and now I have to send it back and get a different shoe. Mm-hmm. Where when they can come out here, try them on, walk around the store, even with your generous offer of being able to wear them around the house for a couple weeks, mm-hmm. they really should find out if that shoe is going to work for them.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's been a fantastic part of my practice, is having the patient's ability to come out here and try the shoes on and figure out which one is going to work for them.
Yep.
So what I hear you both saying is, if the shoe fits isn't just a saying that doesn't mean anything. It's actually legitimate.
It is. It really is. And I'm going to bring it down to, when people's feet hurt, they don't want to do anything.
That's right.
And keeping people active, keeping people in motion, that's really the goal, and enjoying their lives, because that's why we're here.
That's right.
We want to enjoy the time we have here, mm-hmm. and when something hurts, it stops you from doing it.
That's right. Yeah. The other thing that I'm a firm believer of, and we'll get your opinion on it, I believe that truly fit a shoe correctly is a two-person job. And the reason I believe that is because when you measure somebody, going back to the Brannick device, we measure somebody and we measure them in a restive position. Then we have them stand up and we measure them in a standing position. As you well know, there's give up in the arch, right? And so what happens, and I use myself, I'm 230 pounds. And so if I'm going to fit myself, when I bend over, yes, I'm still 230 pounds, but I've taken 130 pounds off of directly standing over my feet. So when I have 230 pounds on my feet, they're at their longest length. When I bend over to see where my toe is or the ball of my foot is, I'm taking some of that weight off of being directly over that foot, and it comes back a little bit, and it'll give you a false reading a lot of times. And so that's why I'm a firm believer that in order to get an accurate fit in a pair of shoes is a two-person job. And we've got all sorts of people that are trying to do it via online, or trying to stand in an aisle in a store someplace and try to figure out what size they need. And some of that, I believe, is the reason that they come see you.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think you need that objective finger on the foot to figure out where it's sitting in a shoe, mm-hmm. making sure that, where does that big toe lie versus the small toe, and how tight is that box? Is it Are you shoving the toes together? And I do agree with you as well that when you change the position of your body, it certainly is going to change how your foot is sitting on the ground.
This question is for both of you. Have you experienced a spike in seeing cases of foot injuries or foot health issues? Is that something that's on the rise? Do you see that in the store, and do you see it in the clinic?
I'll say that the rise of things that we see are probably the younger kids, you know, in a sense that there's a heel problem, and when I say heel, I mean the heel bone, not a healing problem. But they get an inflammation of one of the growth plates in the back of their heel, and it's really hard to get rid of. And the hard part about this part of my job is I've got to tell them, okay, no activity. You've got to give this rest. And now you're talking to people that they go from one thing to the next to the next. So there's a lot of overuse, and I really think that's why they get the severs or calcaneal apophysitis, is just because they're doing everything. You know, back when I was a kid, which is a long time ago, you usually picked a couple things that you did. You know, you were football, you were in wrestling, or you were basketball. But everybody's doing everything now. And there's just no breaks in between. They go from one sport to the next, and that's why I think we see a lot of this overuse stuff.
You know, I would agree with that 100%. The other thing that I'll take it from a business standpoint, what I've learned over the years, and it's just meant to be the truth. When parents are trying to support those things, there's all sorts of travel. There's all sorts of hotel rooms. There's all sorts of out-of-town things. There's all sorts of car repair, whatever it might be. So when Bobby needs a new pair of shoes, they don't necessarily come into Trav's Outfitter saying, we're going to get Johnny the very best shoe that we can. They come into Trav's Outfitter saying, what do you got? Johnny's only in this for 2-3 months. How can you help us out, right? And so, you know, I learned this from my dad. My dad was a power lineman, and we didn't have a lot of money. But my dad always said to me that God only gives you 2 feet. And he gives you 2 hands, and he gives you 2 eyes. And if you don't take care of those, it's not like you don't get other ones, right? And so I really believe that about feet. I believe that your feet affect everything else. And if we don't take care of the feet, and pretty soon you have an injury and you have to be off of them, like Dr. Torness said. Well, now what we did was we saved $100, but boy, it cost us a lot more than that in the long run.
Yeah, those experiences that it seems when the day that school ends to the first day of school in the fall, it's go, 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 go.
You know, there's so many different opportunities now, which, again, growing up when I did, we didn't have that opportunity growing up in a small town. We had opportunities, but certainly it's gotten a whole lot better over time. And I was going to kind of build on what you said. I met the New Balance national rep at a meeting one time, and we were talking like we are now, and I said something about buying a shoe. You know, I have a patient that came in, she can't afford to get this shoe, and I said I told her to go to another brand or go to another store and get this one, and he came back with, well, do you really think that shoe is the same as the shoe that's in the shoe store? And I had to put that together, and he says, think about the materials, think about the construction of the shoe, and how much difference there would be. And then also, when you start thinking about the construction, the materials in that shoe, the length of time that shoe is going to be good for. So there are some things to be said. You know, he kind of, you know, I'll take the old saying, you get what you pay for, and that's really going to come out in a pair of shoes. You truly get what you pay for in a shoe. So if you're skimping on the shoe, you could be causing some problems for your feet, and you may be buying shoes more frequently because those shoes are wearing down a whole lot faster.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I've seen in from my seat is when we're young, our bodies are more resilient. They seem, even though you're talking about young people, they still can take more than as we grow older, right? And so we see that on our mobile boot trucks when we go direct to industry and sell footwear. We have young guys come out, and this is, not everybody, but we have young guys come out. They're worried about Friday night. Are they going to have enough money to go to the bar and chase a pretty girl? And so if the subsidy is $125, they want a safety shoe for $125. They're not spending it out of their own pocket. Then you see a seasoned guy that's in his mid-40s, and he comes on. He's like, I'll take that $125, but I'm putting another $125 with it because I got to be on my feet 40, 50, 60 hours a week, right? And so some of that is just they don't know what they don't know.
Right. Well, and over the years that person has learned that, I'm going to get more out of this if I put a little into it.
That's right. Yeah.
So, absolutely, I agree.
Travis, what's the approach when somebody comes into the store and Dr. Torness has said, hey, I recommend this, or this? How do you take what that customer says, that client says, and apply it out there on the floor?
Well, the reason I'm smiling is because our first conversation that we had was years and years and years ago. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to paraphrase, but Dr. Torness had been in another market, and he'd had some challenges with another retailer. And what was happening was he was saying, this is, my patient needs this, and this. They were going to this place, and they were kind of changing the script on him. And I remember, because I know my heart is that I defer to those that I know much more than I do. And I said to him from day one, you tell me what the rules are, you tell me what you want done, and we do it. And that's one thing. Every time that we have found something or something's been proposed to us that has been a better mousetrap, we've reached out to Dr. Torness and said, hey, this is what's been proposed to us. Would you like to take a look at it? Can we get you some to take a look at? We've never just changed the script on him. And I can sit here today and say that, and I'm proud of that. So
I agree. Actually, I still remember the phone call. I was over at the clinic, and somebody said, Trav's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. I'm like, oh, no, what did I do? What did I tell the patient to do? And it was, no, I want to meet with you, and I want to figure out what I can do to help you be successful. And that was a total twist to me. And so I still tell that story to people. You're one of those guys that took the challenge, and you asked me what I wanted. I told you the things I like. And you brought other products, like you say, and we've changed over the years.
Yeah.
So it's been a great relationship.
It's been really good, yeah.
I think that's a great testament to how businesses can work together in a community when there's, the thing at the end of the day is everybody wants everybody to be healthier and live their best life and have proper shoes, and that allows them to go do the things that they want to do. There's nothing in it other than that for either of you. And I think that's a great testament to the community and other businesses. Well,
I think that's how you build a solid business. I think that's how you build a solid reputation. I've always said that it's not about the shoes. I shouldn't say always, because I was young and stupid, but for the last 20 years, for sure the last 20 years, 25 years in my seat, I've said it's not all about the shoes. It's about, there's a human being that's wearing those shoes. And that human being, whether they're running or jogging or walking to get healthy from an injury, or they're working to make a living, to support their family, that's what it's about at the end of the day. Because if I don't have a higher calling, then it does become self-absorbed, and it's all about me.
Right.
And that's just not me. That's just not the way I'm built. I hope that one day when I'm gone from this place, people can say, you know what? My dad or my grandpa was helped because of something that was said or done at Trav's Outfitter. And I'm not saying that like in an arrogant way. I'm saying that that's what my goal is.
Well, and that's really in what I do. I think, how can I help that person get to where they're going? How can I help? That patient wants to come in and they want to be able to walk 3 miles a day. how do we get there? You know, it's not about me. It's about what's their goal? How can we do it? How can you get there and be happy with it? And being able to partake in their journey is quite fun. You get to, you know, these people that come in, that we get to know them very well. And, you know, it's not really a patient-doctor relationship. It starts to become a friendship.
Yes.
And you get to know them. You get to know about their families. And I'm sure it's the same with you. You see people come in and they bring their kids in, and you're seeing them grow up over the years.
Yep.
And so that's part of the reason I wanted to come back to this area.
Yeah.
You know, having been born and raised, my grandfather and my dad were both in a business, small town, and they know everybody. And I've had patients come in that have told me stories about my grandparents. They told me stories about my parents I didn't know. And it's been a lot of fun getting to know this.
Yeah.
And watching my friends' kids grow up and watching their kids. So it's really interesting how the cycle of life takes place.
Yeah, for sure.
And just to be a small part of it, because that's really all I am. I'm a small part of what they're doing in their lives.
Yep.
I think that goes for both parties here. I think everybody plays a role, and if we can all help that person get to where they want to be and what they want to do, I think then we're all doing our jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and you alluded to it earlier, you know, and I say this all the time. You can buy shoes anywhere, but you don't get the same experience that you get at Trav's Outfit or very many other places, and we're proud of that. We're not arrogant, proud about it, but we're proud of that, and it's something that we work hard every day to deliver.
And I like to tell my patients that too. When we hand them that sheet that is to help them, you know, go out there and try these on. Go out and walk around the store. They're going to take good care of you. That's one of the reasons I like to send people out here, because they come back and they tell me, boy, they did this, and that reflects on me and the way I run my practice. So like I said before, it's been a great relationship.
Yep.
Dr. Torness, what do you want people to know about the podiatry field that maybe not a lot of people know about?
Boy, that's such a broad question. There's so much in the podiatry world. You know, it's not just shoes. There's diabetic things that we worry about, and trying to help people keep their feet healthy. There's not everything has to be corrected with surgery. You know, there's lots of things we can do to help them before they have to have something surgical. And then just general maintenance of their body with stretching and trying to take care of things the way we're meant to.
I was doing a little bit of reading on the diabetes and how that affects your foot health. I had no idea that there was a correlation, and that's just my own ignorance, but I'm interested to hear what's the link?
Well, so with diabetes, they end up, at some point, most patients end up with some neuropathy. And when they can't feel their feet, this is where the shoe world really does come into play, where the shoe can cause problems. An ill-fitting shoe can cause an ulcer or cause some breakdown in the skin that could result in them having to lose a part of their foot or a toe. And that's not uncommon. You know, when you don't feel your foot and you don't know how tight that shoe is, certainly being fitted for the right shoe and something that has a little bit of give comes into play.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's just so many different fields, subsets within podiatry, it seems, and so it's interesting to start to learn some of that terminology and what you guys do.
Diabetes and feet. You know, you could spend a whole nother month and a half or 2 months discussing everything, because it's such there's so many things that go on, and you know, things that link diabetes to neuropathy, they don't have the direct correlation to why the nerves aren't functioning correctly. There's several theories, but no one's ever really said, this is what is causing it. And there is no cure. There's treatments for neuropathy, but it doesn't give them that feeling back. It just takes care of the painful neuropathy they have. And so neuropathy is, with diabetes, has been a whole different animal. And certainly, yes, you talk about subsets. You could do sports medicine and podiatry. You could do diabetes. There's all kinds of sub areas that you can go to.
You talk about treatments a little bit. What are some of the most common ways to treat what people come to you with, the most common issues, plantar fasciitis and the like? What are, the easiest ways that somebody can, maybe prevent some of that from happening?
Right. So I go back to one patient that I remember came in with heel pain. And, I went through my same, you need to ice, you need to stretch, don't go barefoot, we're going to get an insert, the right shoe, do some things like that to try and help you out. Went through all that, and, they walked out. I said, well, we'll follow up in maybe a month or 6 weeks. We'll check in and see how you're doing. And I never saw him again. And happened to run into him out somewhere, and I just asked him, I said, you never came back. What? He said, well, number one, I was really mad at you for telling me, stretch and don't go barefoot and right shoe and things like that. And he said, then I was mad because you were right. He said, I thought you were crazy. Mm-hmm. He said, I didn't think stretching or the right shoe or some support or going barefoot. And I think the biggest part for me when I'm stressing to patients is, I believe it's the two biggest is stretching and not going barefoot. We're not really designed to go barefoot on our manufactured floors. Mm-hmm. That's hard surface underneath that, whether it's carpet or not, padding, anything. It's still a manufactured surface that we're on. And we're just not designed for that. Our feet are designed to be in a certain position, and we really need to try and hold it in that position to maintain good foot health.
I like to dabble on the weekends or after work running a little bit. How are they the same injuries from runners that you see from your regular patients, or how do those differ? Do you see a lot of overlap there?
It's different. Certainly there can be some similarities, but runners, you can have different problems with nails, you can have different problems with stress fractures, and just the normal everyday foot things, probably not necessarily out of the realm of trauma, just normal daily foot things, you really shouldn't end up with some of the stuff that the runners develop. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how you dabble in running.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a either you do or you don't thing, but I am a believer that everybody could be a runner if they wanted to and put themselves to it.
Not this fat kid.
I'll tell you, if you see me running, you better take off.
There's the physical aspect, and then there's the want to do it as well. There's, I think the mental aspect plays something.
Well, you're like,
it.
what, $160? You start hauling 230 pounds around on these feet, and I'm going to be at Dr. Torness's office.
Well, I don't wish that for anybody. I don't wish for you to see more clients, but I know that you do, and I know that you do a great job, and I know that, Travis, you do a great job in referring people to see Dr. Torness as well.
Yeah, well, a 10 forever. If your waistline has grown and you're still wearing a size 10, chances are you don't wear a 10. The difference in a half size, if you go from a 10 to a 10.5, is only 1/8 of an inch. It's not that much. I promise you, you're not going to trip over your shoes if you get a 10.5 instead of a 10. Those are just things that I love to talk about because we can be light about them. But the fact of the matter is our feet do change, and it's important that we get you the right shoe. And if you've got foot problems, I would definitely invite you to come see Dr. Torness.
I'd appreciate that. If there's anything I can do to help out, I'd really like to. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, it was great to have you.
Absolutely. Our first guest, that's a huge accomplishment for the Trav's Outfitter podcast, and we're glad to have you here, and it means a lot. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for episode 2 of the Trav's Outfitter podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening wherever you listen to your podcasts, or catch us on YouTube with the full video version. A special thanks to Dr. Torness again for joining us today and sharing some of your expert knowledge. And remember to subscribe to our podcast wherever you like to listen, or catch us on YouTube, as I mentioned. And stay tuned for episode 3 of the Trav's Outfitter podcast.